Yeah, no. So I don't think they're using another XRP. I know they have a private ledger and a public ledger. I've seen the private ledger once. I've seen the price go as high as $327,000.
I have twofold answer to this. The first answer is within the chat I have with Ito.
So I came out with a letter that I found from the government of Thailand. Was meant to be a private letter that I ended up getting access. And in this letter, Ripple is essentially explaining some of the reasons why there's a private ledger, but most importantly, they are actually recommending that the government of Thailand utilizes XRP on the private ledger.
This definitely exists. They use sidechains, probably primarily for testing, I would say, but also perhaps for settlement. And it wouldn't be on the scale that we're about to encounter. And that makes perfect sense, right? From a rollout perspective. Before you turn the tap on, you're going to test to make sure that there's no leaks in the pipes. And whilst these side chains have displayed much higher prices than what's on the public market, the arbitrage opportunities that would open up if this actually continued or persisted once we have the legal clarity and once we have, market definition, it just wouldn't work. It simply wouldn't work from an arbitrage standpoint. So that's the first component to the answer. But it's not really robust enough to explain why they even do it in the first place. So why do they create these side chains? And I think I have the answer, and I found this. No, I didn't find it. I was there. I was in the audience. I was in the audience at Ripple Apex 2025 in Singapore when Schwartzy got on stage. This was one of the best questions I saw in this particular segment. And it, I think, illuminates this problem and why they do this. So I'm going to play a little clip here.
How significant will permission domains be in enabling regulatory compliance and attracting large institutions into the XRPL ecosystem?
I think it's going to be very significant. A thorn in my side and a thorn in the side of Ripple for a long time has been the fact that we can't use the XRP Ledger DEX for our own payments products. Like this just, I want to rip my hair out. So it's obvious that we would do that. And it's frustrating endlessly frustrating that we can't. And the primary obstacle is that Ripple is a regulated institution. Right. And if our trade passes through a terrorist or somebody who's sanctioned by the United States, it doesn't matter whether we knew or could have known, or basically if there's a chance that can happen, we just can't do it.
Right.
And so we have not been able to use the DEX. And it's just, And so permission domains will enable a domain in which you have to prove you're not a terrorist to get into that domain. These will not be just institutions to institutions, but the idea is that ordinary people will be in these permission domains. They'll be able to provide liquidity, they'll be able to consume liquidity, they'll be able to arbitrage between inside and outside the domain. And finally, enterprises that want to use the DEX to settle payments and move assets and provide liquidity on the DEX will be able to do so.
So this here is one of the most exciting answers I heard in all of the Singapore conference. Because what he's saying is that in its current form, institutions have not been able to publicly touch this asset or settle the way that we all know it can perform because of the minuscule chance that there could be some peripheral risk around illegal changing of hands. So with this permission domain launch, which by the way is going through at the moment, it may have already gone through, but this was a part of a rollout touted for this year. And there's a number of other elements, more technical minded people will be across, where this problem gets solved because you can't opt into the usage of, say, like the ODL provisions, which we know is a massive component of the circulating supply, unless you're vetted. So the entry into these domains is completely secure for the usage of the technology. But you might ask, well, why haven't they done that earlier? Well, because they haven't had legal clarity. And until there was, they've been waiting for their moment for a long, long time. You need legal clarity from the biggest economic powerhouse on earth before the dominoes fall everywhere else. And you also need the institutions willing and able to move away from traditional financial rails to the new rails in harmony. And we know that that has not been the case. The harmony has not been there, and there has been clear pushback and resistance to change. That right now, though, is not the case. We're on the precipice of falling into that harmony phase where they go, yep, let's do it. And I think the timing makes perfect sense for a feature like this to be rolled out now, because the years and years of testing are done, the years and years of back-end different prices and private side chains and all of that, that coexistence of public-private, I think that starts to fizzle away. So when do these permission domains start to take effect? And when are the institutions going to use it? And when is it going to cause price appreciation? I really do think it all hinges on this Clarity Act, which the market structure, which is going to pass the Senate likely late October. And Senator Loomis, the Bitcoin maxi, has even said publicly that she thinks it will be signed into law by Donald Trump before Thanksgiving. I think this is the big needle mover. You're going to see a clear definition of XRP as a commodity. That's my prediction. And this basically means that the institutions will know exactly what they're engaging in the public sphere. Once that takes place, you heard Schwartz say it.
And finally, enterprises that want to use the DEX to settle payments and move assets and provide liquidity on the DEX will be able to do so. So
we're going to see liquidity from these sort of side chains and behind the veil merge into the domain space, the main XRPL, and that's when we're going to start to see the utility kick in.